I have some pretty impressive farms in my world, but these farms are nothing compared to what I'm building today. I'm building a farm so powerful that it outmatches everything I've built so far, producing a raw output of over 850,000 items and using over 10 shulkers of gold blocks an hour. In this video, I'm building one of the fastest bartering farms ever created. But as always, we start with a problem. In my world, I am constantly running out of redstone components. Every farm, storage, or build I make needs a constant supply of redstone, and some components are easier to craft than others. Take redstone torches for example. I have an endless supply, but when it comes to the most important components like observers, repeaters, and comparators, I run into a problem. You see, to craft an observer, you need cobblestone, redstone, and nether quartz. The real challenge is getting nether quartz. Currently, my only option is to spend tedious amounts of time mining for it. So spending hours mining for nether quartz is just not going to cut it. So let me introduce you to the solution. So this farm here produces over 850,000 items an hour and over 50,000 nether quartz. Let me introduce you to Sandy's bartering farm. Alright, so I think the best option is probably just take this project one step at a time. And I'm going to start by gathering all the materials. As you probably noticed, my cobblestone farm for some reason just blew itself up. I'm not too sure why, but I'm going to fix that later. But as I was saying, I'm going to gather all the materials and then we can start planning the bartering farm. As for materials, there's nothing inherently complicated to get, but the only problem is that I need a lot of wood for chests and I also need a lot of hoppers, pistons, and pretty much all the basic redstone components. So I'm going to get the wood from my tree farm. However, ever since I built this tree farm, this storage system has been driving me mad. So all the items just bunch up in this chest over here and it doesn't filter out any items, it doesn't load them into shulkers, so I'm gonna fix all those issues right now. Now, contrary to popular belief, building a collection system for a farm is not a difficult task. The first step is to figure out how many items my tree farm produces an hour. So mathematically, to keep up with this farm, we need a 9x speed hopper loader. Now let me introduce you to this shulker loader. It's 4x speed, tileable, and filtered. Now obviously 4x speed isn't enough to keep up with 76,000 items an hour. But this is where its tileability comes in. So after a few moments, I came up with this design over here. All around, this design is pretty basic, but the only real upgrade is just a shulker crafter instead of having chests full of shulker boxes. This just condenses all the shulker boxes into 2 different chests, and it makes things so much easier. With that said, I began to upgrade the storage for the tree farm. With the collection system completed, it was time to run the farm to get all the materials I need. Now that I was able to get my unlimited source of wood, I'll go through how exactly this farm works. So to begin, all the logs are blown up and pushed into this water stream over here. This water stream carries them down into this pipe system where they're all pushed up into the collection system. The collection system filters out all the logs and loads them into shulker boxes. After letting the tree farm run with its new collection system, I had all the wood I needed. So I began to gather all the materials for the bartering farm. Alright, so I need a bunch of chests, some iron for hoppers, of course some hoppers, some repeaters, droppers, note blocks, and a bunch of miscellaneous other items. The only thing I was missing was nether quartz for observers and comparators, so I headed to the nether. Now with all the materials on hand, I could start building. Building a bartering farm is a bit different than other farms in the game. I would need over 256 piglin in this tiny cell, which I would of course have to get into position before building the rest of the farm. So how on earth do I get 256 piglin in the same spot? Well, the answer lies within this machine here. This over here is a piglin catcher, and it's going to help me catch all the piglin needed. So with the piglin loader complete, I just have to do a few more checks before we could turn it on. The first thing I need to do is just input 4 stacks of carved pumpkins into this dispenser. And lastly, I just input a couple of gold ingots in this dropper here. And just like that, the farm is ready to be run. Then I just flick this lever to turn it on. And as you can see, we already got a couple of piglin going in. Now, the mechanics of this piglin loader are actually very simple. So you have a gold ingot right here, and this gold ingot is going to be luring all the piglin into this cell over here. And once they're in this cell, they get picked up by a minecart, and a pumpkin gets dispensed on their head. And once the pumpkin gets dispensed on their head, they're put into this little cell over here. The pumpkin stops them from despawning, so I'm gonna let it run, and once it's all full, we're gonna start building the farm. Just like that, 256 piglin are loaded into this tiny cell. Now, the next steps become a little bit more complicated. I'm going to need to adjust these piglin's positions to make the farm run correctly. This is where I have to be very careful, because any slight mistake could cause a huge inconvenience where all the piglin escape from their cells and I'm going to need to restart again. I'm going to be honest, getting these piglin aligned was one of the most stressful things I ever did. But I got them all in place, so let's start building the bartering farm. With the farm completed, I know you're all anxious to see it working, but not so fast. I still had to AFK my gold farm to gather all the gold needed, and this is where I ran into a slight problem. So after running my gold farm for a little while, I have pretty much all the gold I need. But the problem is I actually only have gold blocks, and this bartering farm is going to need gold ingots to actually function. So I could do the obvious and just craft a bunch of gold ingots and put them into shulkers, but I want a more efficient way of doing this. So I'm gonna build a mass crafter. By far, the best design I found is this one here by Fruto210. This design can mass craft any recipe, reload shulkers, and is relatively simple based on its speed. Now, for the mass crafter, I'm actually going to try something different and try to put it all underground. So the interface will be right on the surface, but the entire machinery for the actual mass crafter is entirely underground in a hole. What I'm talking about might sound a bit complicated, but you'll see what I mean. Now that's the outline complete. All that's left is to build the mass crafter. So with the mass crafter completed, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a rundown on how it works. So to begin, you're going to input your item you want to craft into these chests over here. Once that's done, you come over here, click this lever, and begin crafting. Once the crafting is done, you'll come over here and start automatically filling this shulker box. So once you input the boxes, it burns them with lava and then dispenses hopper minecarts that collect the items and push them up towards you through water streams. This allows the player to craft any crafting recipe at insane speeds. Once completed, there's an auto shulker crafter that lets you input all the items into shulker boxes. After doing a bit of crafting for around 5 minutes, I got almost 3 double chests full of shulkers of gold ingots. Now it's time for what you've all been waiting for, to test the bartering farm. I started by inputting all the shulkers of gold ingots into the chest. Now any slight mistake or problem with the piglin could make this hard work completely useless, so I had to be extra careful. So like every farm I make in my videos, I always try to give a good explanation on how exactly these farms work, and this one is no exception. So to begin, all the shulkers of gold ingots are inputted into these double chests over here. The shulker gets dispensed and then burned in lava, and all the gold ingots fall onto this pressure plate. The gold ingots are then picked up by these piglin, and their items fall through the string and are pushed into these shulker loaders. The items are then filtered out and all the excess items get burned. Once the shulker is full, it gets pushed up into this bulk system over here and filtered by its item type. I let this farm run for a few minutes, and as you can see, we already have shulkers full of different types of items. I inputted around 3 double chest full of shulker boxes of gold ingots into the farm, and I'm going to let it run for a bit and see how much items we could get. Alright, so all the gold is finished. This farm has been running for around 2.5 hours, and let's see how many items we got. Wow, so we got a full double chest of blackstone, a full double chest of gravel, some nether bricks, a bunch of soul sand. Most importantly, we have almost a full double chest of quartz. We got almost a full double chest of string, half a double chest of crying obsidian, and a bit of obsidian. So 850,000 items per hour is absolutely no joke. And I think we're good on quartz for pretty much the entirety of this world. Now in this video, we upgraded the tree farm, built a mass crafter, and made one of the fastest bartering farms, which gives us an unlimited supply of quartz to craft all my redstone components. I have many big projects in the works, so stick around and I'll see you soon.